Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
My dear friend Helen sent me these thoughts to live by, and here's one of my very favorites this morning. People are like tea bags. You have to drop them in the hot water before you know how strong they really are. Amen. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Nice, beautiful day outside so far. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And let's not forget some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, and they're locally owned and operated. And get on the route service today, 734-6969. And over the river and through the desert, across the canal, over to the studios, main studios, easy to say if you really look at the word. And here's Gina.
You forgot to go over the underpass and then under the overpass.
Oh, yeah, you go a different way than I do.
I do, as a matter of fact, this morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. It's going to be a nice day, and actually I'm feeling a little bit better today.
Oh, you sound better.
Oh, well, thank you, and I even dressed up. I even wore a dress today.
You are giving me a joke.
No, seriously, I actually
Really?
wore a dress today, yeah.
Wow.
I never wear dresses, but today I felt the urge to wear a dress. Wow.
So I would assume, in your terminology that you use frequently, the barn has been painted.
No, the barn is going to be painted here shortly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that statement. Anyway, we're going to have a busy day. We've got a lot of good people on today, and we're going to talk about a lot of good subjects, and we need those phone calls to give us a jingle. And right now, do we have a pledger?
We have Rotten on for the pledge and Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Very good. Thank you, Rotten. Go ahead, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You just go right over to that beautiful blushing bride of yours and plant a great big kiss on her cheek, okay?
No.
Oh. Well,
You want to get stopped through the county?
God bless you, folks. Take care. I love you dearly. Thank you. Have a good day. And right now it's time for the weather. And the weather, of course, brought to us by our friends at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Wow. They've got lots and lots of newly refurbished furniture. And they've got all the decor items to dress up your house and your living room, whatever you want to dress up for Valentine's Day. They've got everything over there. And, you know, they've got a little rule that says when hanging panel curtains, hang them as close to the ceiling as possible and wide enough that they cover the least amount of the window as possible. And when they're open, it creates height and an illusion of larger windows. Oh, they know. They know at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. You better believe it. Look for the blue door. Call them at 678-6945. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Cloudy today, clear tonight, sunny tomorrow. Be sunny all the way through the end of the week. 50 for the high, 33 for the overnight low. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
I would say that was one of the most brief weather forecasts I've ever heard him give. And so I will say, bye, Michael. Have a good day. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, 678-6945. Hey, Hey, by the way, you know that the Burley Livestock Sale Yard is the sale that works for you. You better believe it. 10 a.m. starting time every Thursday, Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Number 2, call 678-9411. World's best auctioneer over there, Merv May or Cade Rogge. Boy, he can really auction too. Lance Udy, the whole crew serving you at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Thursday is sale day at 10 a.m. Don't you miss it. Okay. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to get this in real quick. Once again, this coming Saturday, Mad Max and the crew over at Magic Valley Tire, they're going to have their chili championships of the world. Oh, yeah. And Max made a statement the other day on the air, and he said there never has been a chili, anywhere, anytime, that has burned his lips to the point that he couldn't love it. Well, I am issuing you a challenge. If you can make a chili that will make Mad Max run to the water fountain or run to get a bottle of milk, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a special prize. I want to find out who and what kind of chili that is. Anyway, it's going to be judging of the chili at 10:30 at Magic Valley Tire this coming Saturday. And then after the judging, you eat. You eat it. Free. Cinnamon rolls, chili, the whole 9 yards. Now, if you want to enter a chili for judging, call Amber at 438-8444. That number, 438-8444. Remember, we got to go get old Mad Max this year, okay? Also, I'll tell you about the Minute Cash and Lincoln Day luncheon in just a minute. Stand by. Don't forget Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They have been our cleaners for our clothes for years. Why? Okay? Even before they started advertising on my program, I said, man, you are the best. They do a job on Wranglers and sports shirts and everything. I just absolutely think they're the greatest. 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Kevin and Cindy and the whole crew take your rumply crumplies and make them look brand spanking new. Daryl's Cleaners, the best in Burley. Also, somebody else we're really high on, and that's SafeLink Internet. Idaho's #1 choice for wireless internet. 17 years and counting. And I'm telling you, no contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data, speeds up to 15 megabytes. And they are great. Starting at just $24.95 a month. You better call 677-8000. 677-8000. And that's, of course, SafeLink Internet. You call them today. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I really do want, I got to tell you, Minute Cash and Lincoln Day Banquet. I forgot, I would have slipped that right by my old German mind. Minute Cash and Lincoln Day Luncheon and Banquet will be held on Saturday, February 28th at Maury's Steakhouse. The meet and greet at noon. 1 o'clock they'll serve the food. Thank you, Bert and Elaine. God bless you. I appreciate it. And now, I want to ask you a question. I want you to really think about this and give me an answer. I got a lot of very, very sharp people out in my audience. What is it going to take, seriously now, what is it going to take to get people, citizens of this great country, fired up to get us back to where we were and where we should be? Now, the loony left, and believe me, I have nothing good to say about the loony left. If they're offended, that is their problem, not mine. The loony left is looking at a bigger kind of a swath across America to destroy our schools, our churches, our businesses, our morality, our value system, and I've had enough. I've preached this on my program for all the many years that I've been on this show. But what's it going to take to get people fired up to say enough is enough, slam their fists down on the kitchen counter, the coffee table, or at the table you're sitting at the cafe right now, and say, I've had it, that's enough, I'm not going to do this anymore, I don't want to be a part of this anymore, and we're going to start protecting the American ideal. What America was, what America should be. We've lost it. For instance, how many of you last night, and I was just absolutely appalled when I saw that man on the street interview in Florida, and they were interviewing young people 18 to 30 years of age, 18 to 30. They had no clue, nothing, nada. What ISIS is, the Taliban, Gitmo, Bergdahl, they didn't have a clue. They were absolutely oblivious as to what's going on. Nothing. And you got to sit there when you're my age or Gina's generation under me, and you got to worry like, oh boy, when these people go to the polls and they have no knowledge whatsoever as to what's going on or who's in the news or all the things that are happening, their vote is literally going to cancel out yours and mine. I'm worried about this. I mean, absolutely, they could sway an election, and they haven't got the knowledge of a box of rocks. This is really scary. And watching that last night and listening and understanding and comprehending the news, and even some of the liberals, I mean, I was absolutely shocked by some of the liberals on some of the liberal networks, even MSNBC. Some of those people are coming forward and they're really questioning Obama, really questioning his lack of doing anything to protect us and safeguard this country from terrorism. And his idiocy, I do not like the man, and don't anybody dare ever come up and say, well, we have to respect him. No, we don't. He's a man that has absolutely no respect for America, our values, our morals, and our Constitution. So, therefore, I do not have to respect him, nor will I. This man is leading us down, I think, the path of absolute no reproach to where we can't get back. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. It's going to take another Pearl Harbor to wake the American people up to see what's going on and where this man is driving this country.
Tony, wait a minute. I'm not so sure that I want to go that far to say it's going to take another Pearl Harbor, because I would say to you that 9/11 was another Pearl Harbor. It did bring back the American spirit and the American sticking out the jaw and saying, don't you tread on me. But today, I'm not so sure. Liberalism is so prevalent in this country, and the absolute let's go hide under a rock attitude, Tony, I'm not so sure that it will.
Well, I hope it will. I think one good thing may come out of this. Maybe Israel and Jordan and a few other people over there maybe possibly become allies. That's something I think is a possibility of the tragedy this guy is bringing to the world.
All I can do is pray that you're right, but I'm starting to lose a lot of confidence in the liberalism in this country, the Democrats, and those that are just nothing but sheep that follow the liberal mindset because that's where the free handouts are.
Well, I think the millions of GIs and past GIs that we've got in this country may just finally turn the tables on Barack Obama.
Tony, I'm praying that your concept is right. God bless you and Mary. Thank you so much for your call.
Okay, then.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Caller, I know you're waiting. Have patience. Have patience. I will be right with you, I promise. Don't forget our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, my goodness sakes. They've got all your furnace filters. You go in and say, Zeb sent me for furnace filters. They've got the best. Now, you know this weather is not going to last. You know it's going to drop in temperature. You know it's going to get cold outside. You know your toesies are going to hit the floor and you're going to go, whoa, wow. Well, make sure that you've got quality air filters in your furnace. Go over there today, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, where they provide warm winters and cool summers, and that's, of course, Ramsey Heating and Electric. One more good word, caller. I'm a-coming, I promise. Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Lovebird sales going on. Yep, Lovebird sale. Kissy lovey. All clothing, jewelry, belts, and Western boots, 25% off. I'm telling you, it's going to be a ripping good sale. You better be part of it at 910 South Oneida in Rupert and register for their romantic night stay in the honeymoon suite at the Best Western. Woohoo! I mean, yeah, great. And plus 2 desserts from Perkins and a $50 gift card to the Upper Crust Grill. Woo! They're giving away some good stuff over there at Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. Good morning, caller. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Oh, that's fine. I've got a little trivia for you that you'd be interested in. Somebody went to Goodwill, found a West Point sweater. Maybe you heard about this. Inside, it had Lombardi.
Oh, my.
Picked up, a sweater, Vince Lombardi sweater from West Point.
Oh, my.
Yeah, they figured, I don't know if the guy sold it or put it on eBay. I think $20,000 they figured it was worth.
Oh, my. You know...
I just heard that this morning, so I thought you might be interested in that situation. But can you imagine finding in Goodwill a Vince Lombardi's West Point sweater?
You know, I'm not so sure that with the memorabilia, the way it is today in our country, and the value of like baseball cards and everything else, I'm not so sure that wasn't a steal at $20,000 because, boy, when he was back there coaching for the Army, and before that, of course, he was one of the 4 blocks of granite at Fordham University, and went on to be possibly the most legendary football coach in history with the Super Bowl trophy named after him. I think I'd have held out for a lot more than $20,000.
Well, no, I don't think he picked the person that got the sweater. Picked it up for probably $1 or $2.
Oh my!
So it's just that I think they said that it was valued. Now I don't. You may check the internet on it and find out more about the details, but because they didn't, it was just one of those things that went in passing. They didn't give a lot of details. So
well, answer the question this morning real quick and stay on track here. What's it going to take, fast, Adrian? Because I got other calls waiting to get America back on track. Can we or can't we, or is it too late?
Well, okay. Number one, we need to get the Christians out of their pews and out in the public again. Only 50% of the Christians in this country register to vote. Only 25, half of those even go to the polls in the last election. So, your Christian friends out there, my Christian friends, I just hear this all the time. Well, we're in the last days. It's kind of all ordained, so let's just sit back and let it happen.
Yeah, but you know something right there, we need to look those people in the eye and say, oh, so you know the Bible better than anybody, and say, oh, so you know the hour that the Lord returns, and that ought to put some frowns on their face to get up off the couch and start acting like a human being that cares about things.
Well, and here's the subject right now where, a lot of good conservative people are drinking way too much liberal Kool-Aid, and it's starting to go to their head.
Yeah.
They're pushing, even in the state of Idaho. We rescinded our call for a constitutional convention years ago. Now they're pushing, after John Casey came here, Zeb, all of a sudden he stirred up the pot, and everybody it's just unbelievable. Here this guy comes in here from the Conference of States, and I've been fighting these calls for constitutional convention clear back to the ERA in the 70s. And I can guarantee you, if we have a convention or let it happen, or our state joins and we get 34 states, there's 24 states right now. All we need is 10 more states, and we will have a convention.
Yeah, I want to stay on point, but you're absolutely right, and I've got to get a commercial in here before my break at the bottom. But, I'm going to do a study on that constitutional convention next week, and I will be in touch with you.
Yeah, it's just crazy what's going on. But anyway, too much liberal Kool-Aid out there that good Christian conservatives are eating or drinking that, and it's going to their head.
Amen.
We have to do something. How about a resolution to Congress that they just, pay for only those things that are authorized in the Constitution. Don't you think that would be a good way to approach it?
It is a great way to start, and I'll tell you something, under this administration, you better buckle your seatbelt up and snug it up tight, because we're in for a last 2 years of one heck of a ride. Gotta run. Thanks, Adrian. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Have a great day. Thanks.
Don't forget Denny's Restaurant. Oh, my. 2 locations, 611 Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line in Twin Falls, Pole Line Road. And next week, write this down on the calendar. If you're driving, put it on the dust on your dash, but then don't clean off your dash. And whatever, next week on Thursday, the 19th, will be Lunch Bunch for Valentine's Day. It's a special occasion. We're all going to get lovey-dovey and have a great big fun time at Denny's Restaurant at Zeb's Lunch Bunch next week. Don't forget the very best of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And, of course, just people are so nice at Denny's. They really take care of you. Stop in. Like I said, 611 Overland and Burley, Denny's Restaurant. And that is the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we'll be there next Thursday on the 19th. Real quick, and I want some more people to call. What are we going to do? Are you just going to sit back? Honestly, you call into this program, I love it. I appreciate you, and I thank the world of you for doing so. But we've got to stay strong. We've got to make sure that our voices are heard. We need to call our politicians. Go to the Lincoln Day banquet at Maury's on the 28th and walk up to these people. I'm going to be there. I'm not going to be your mouthpiece. You got to come and speak for yourself. Go up to these people, whether it's Simpson or whether it's Crapo or whomever, and say, hey, wait a minute. How come you're not fighting against this, that, or the other? It's a golden opportunity to let them know that there's a little civil unrest in the hinterland. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental. Eli, the old Packer backer, and Nick and everybody, I'll tell you what, they've got the equipment to get the job done right. You know, retail equipment sales, equipment rentals, parts and service, they've got a shop and a crew down there that in Burley that absolutely is phenomenal. Same in Twin, same in Jerome. And they know how to take care of you with great financing and lease options, everything right there on the equipment that you need. Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, the best Barry Equipment and Rental. Got time for another call quickly before I take the break at the bottom of the hour. And really, are you giving up on America? I mean, that sounds a little harsh. I'm not. I'm going to keep fighting for it. I'm going to keep fighting the liberals. By the way, I don't know if you read the paper or not this morning. We're getting rid of one of them. And that's old John Alexander's kind of throwing in the towel and headed back east. He's going to go back to Illinois. I guess he doesn't like us conservatives out here very much. Adios, amigo. Hey, don't forget Pacific Steel and Recycling. 320 West Main in Burley. Absolutely. They offer superior customer service, drive-through recycling, pickup service, roll-off containers, an employee-owned company that really takes care of you. And they also got trailer parts, and they sell brand-new steel, too. All of this and more at Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley, 678-2321. And here now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. Many commodity leaders say President Barack Obama's proposal to consolidate food safety programs into a single federal agency would hinder their ongoing efforts to implement requirements of a sweeping federal food safety reform bill. His Consolidated Food Safety Agency will be operated by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. More than a dozen agencies are involved in overseeing the safety of the nation's food supply, governed by more than 30 statutes. With the goal of reducing the size of government, ag leaders worry about implementing any changes while the industry is still implementing the Food Safety and Modernization Act passed in 2010. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Brandon Tenner. For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Brought to you by Pacific Steel and Recycling at 320 West Main in Burley. Number to call these really nice people, 678-2321. They are the best. Gina, are you right there by your microphone, I hope? Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. When you turn your television off in your home, and you and James are sitting there, and you're just all cuddled up on the couch, do you know that maybe your television is taping your conversations and possibly videotaping your every movement?
I never thought about that, but I'm not sure if my television has that capability.
Well, it may not, but there are TVs, the smart TVs, and I'm not going to mention brand names right now.
Okay.
But I was listening to a report last night that was absolutely scary. Now the smart TVs can be turned on by some insidious lowlife sitting in a little cubicle someplace, and they can tape our conversations, and they can literally, with a camera back at us, tape us and what we're doing in the privacy of our homes and living rooms.
Really?
You know, I got to tell you something, Gina. I am so sick and tired of worrying about who's going to get this information, why are they going to get this information, and the government, you know what they are? They're perverts. They're nothing more than perverts that ought to be up on sex-related charges against humanity, and they now can turn your TV off and turn it on and listen in and watch you whenever they want to.
Really? I know that that's a big fear with a lot of laptops and things like that, especially the laptops that have the webcams in them like mine does. And the only reason I use the webcam on mine is some little guy can Skype and talk to his dad and see his dad. But other than that, you know, I don't. So that is a fear. And I just pulled up this news story so I can read about what you're talking about. But I have not even heard about this. But I'm not surprised.
Well, here's the thing, Gina. I have sat in my living room with my friends and neighbors that come over to visit, as of last night even. And I've said things politically that I probably wouldn't say on the air about Obama and others connected to the government, which is the privacy of my own home and the freedom of my own speech. And to think that they can eavesdrop on what my conversations are and even video perhaps what I'm doing in the privacy of my home, it absolutely is Orwellian, worse than 1984 ever anticipated.
Well, and it's a total infringement upon our rights. And why? Here's my question: why would they even want to do that?
Control.
True.
Control.
True.
I'm honestly looking at this situation to where I have a smartphone in my pocket right now. You know as well as I do, they know my whereabouts. They can honestly check my conversations, everything else. They can check through my smartphone what I've done, what sites I go to, what apps I use. And you know as well as I do that when you walk down the street, there's somebody recording you. And in the bigger cities, the microphone systems are quality enough to pick up and discern various conversations. I mean, you have basically, in this country, no freedom to do, go, or say anything without being watched.
No, honestly, if people think that we live in a relatively safe area where we're not going to be watched, and there's video cameras everywhere. There's video cameras everywhere. You look at every stoplight, there's a video camera. You go anywhere, there's going to be a video camera. There's somebody watching you and listening into your conversation.
I think that
it's disgusting.
I think that you and I should lead a charge against this eavesdropping. And every night that we turn off our television sets, we should walk over, stand right in front of it, and give them the signal that they are still number one. And also a little verbiage that has probably a lot to do with their family ancestral tree.
Yes.
And then go to bed.
Honestly, that sounds like a fantabulous idea, because I would be the one to stand in front of my television and say such wonderful things about wonderful people.
You know, I had some other ideas as to what to do in front of that TV, but then I thought none of which can really be related at this particular time on my radio program.
We'll save that for a later private conversation. You've got a phone call.
All right. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. I don't think that's just televisions. I heard that they can activate your phone.
Oh, yeah.
from like several miles away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you ever get those calls that there's nobody there, and then pretty soon they say goodbye?
I have, and I just mentioned a moment ago the smartphones. So, yes, whatever you said is 100% true. Really, when you pull up to a stoplight, have you ever looked up if you're one of the first 2 or 3 cars in line, and there's that camera watching you? And if you go to New York, Chicago, L.A., whatever, you know that they're listening to the conversations. You know that you're on tape. You know that they know your every thought, your every whim, your thoughts. And even in stores now, they're relying on this information so that they can move the merchandise around to better sell to you because they know all about you.
Right. It's pretty sad, huh?
Yeah, it's scary. Lorna, I'll tell you what, it's time to move to the hills and leave the smartphone back on the counter.
Really?
All right, God bless you. Good to hear from you.
Uh-huh.
All right, have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, you too.
There's a nice lady right there. No, I'm sick and tired of being spied on. And I know I'm being spied on. I'll tell you more about that in just a few minutes. Here we go. Excuse me. Darn cough. Anyway, Scow's CarQuest, auto and truck parts. Scow's, Rupert, Hayburn, and Burley. My goodness sakes, they've got everything for your automobiles. Absolutely. They've got all the replacement products, accessories, and supplies for virtually every vehicle on the road because, like I've told you many times, every detail matters. And don't forget the Fleet Filler Survey. Great way to save time when something breaks down this spring. You can say, hey, it's truck number 7. Call them. We got to have a whole bunch of goodies done on this, and it's right there at Scow's. And they've teamed up with Baldwin Filters, the best heavy-duty fillers out there. These people really know automobiles and trucks. They're the best. Scow's CarQuest Centers in Rupert, Burley, and Hayburn. You stop in and see them today. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, this television deal and your phone, and we all want, I didn't really want a smartphone. I'm kind of glad in a way for the information I can obtain off the phone, especially in my real estate business and everything. It makes it quote-unquote handier. But I don't like the eavesdropping. I don't like the people listening in. I don't like the idea that they can watch me in my home. And, there are some circumstances that I thought of that maybe I'd better not. And this whole thing is just Big Brother. Big Brother and a 7-letter word, control. And that story goes right along with the first little story about being fired up to get us back to what we were and what we should be in this country. Obama, in my opinion, is absolutely a lost cause. Did you hear that interview that he did on what's called the Vox, V-O-X, not Fox, Vox, V-O-X network? That was one of the most pathetic displays of liberalism that I've ever heard in my life. He is so caught up in the false, not very educated view of climate change and global warming, to be in bed with Tom Steyer's and others of the environmental ilk, that he actually said on this interview that he was more concerned about global warming than he was ISIS and terror. Ladies and gentlemen, next week I'm going to be doing a little bit of a series on the phoniness and fraudulent statements and activities of the nincompoops that are connected with global warming and, or, if you will, climate change. There has not been any change in the Earth's temperature to the warmer side for the last over 16 years. As a matter of fact, it's been going the other way. We have the graphs and charts, all legitimate from various universities and scientists that represent those universities. We're going to be having people on the air next week that are going to talk about this in its entirety and what a sham, S-H-A-M, this government and others of the liberal loon set that follow this and purport it to be true. They're only doing this to take control of this country. Limit your transportation. Limit what you can do. Cry the blues about climate change and just isolate people to the point where they are absolutely controlled. But for a president to sit there on an interview and say something as frivolously stupid as worrying about a temperature in comparison to people being beheaded and people being burned to death and children being shot and pushed into mass graves. What is the matter with this man? And then he blames the media. He blames the media for being too hypersensitive to what's going on and creating more of what the news is than what the news should be. And then he actually came out in this interview, and this is why I detest this man. He actually came out in this interview and said that our country, the United States of America, with all of our freedoms and everything, we should have a quote-unquote centralized news service. Doesn't that reek of like Venezuela and Castro in Cuba and Putin in other places? If there's news, it's going to go through our little government agency first before we give it to you, Mr. and Mrs. Listener and Reader. This is spooky. Government-dictated and controlled news? Are you kidding me? This is what's happening in the last 2 years of this Obama administration. Hold on. Buckle up. It's going to get rough. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, quick reminder, don't forget my friends at Canyonside Irwin Realty. I'm very, very happy to be a part of their team at Canyonside Irwin Realty, and they serve all the Magic Valley. For more information on any and all of your real estate needs, call the office, 734-6500, or you can call me, a representative of Canyonside Realty, 312-2976. Give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, don't forget those good folks. Absolutely at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I'm going to go down and see them tomorrow. Yes, sirree, they've got a great staff right there. Excellent physical therapists that know all about sports medicine. They know all about the different exercises. They've got a hydrotherapy pool there, only one in the area. Oh, my goodness. And they work really hard to help you get back to feeling and being you. Yes, sirree. Nick Greenwell and the rest of the crew at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. The number to call for an appointment, 678-1191. 678-1191. You call them today, okay? Here's something else, too, that is a related subject. The people in Florida, down in Seminole County, Florida, listen to this. Their kids were in the classrooms in Seminole County learning all about Islam and Muslim prayer rugs and Muslim prayers in the school. One parent got really upset and questioned what in the world is going on, because in his son's history book it said, listen to this quote, "There is no God, but God Muhammad is the messenger of God." Woo! Now, it just is ironic, but listen to this. The first 100 pages that possibly were going to discuss Judaism and Christianity from this textbook, they were missing. Can you imagine that? They were gone. They were not there. But Islam was still left. Isn't that amazing how that worked out? And the teacher and the principal, they were all behind teaching these kids Muslim prayers and prayer rugs, the whole 9 yards. This is scary. This is absolutely scary. And they found out that Seminole County, the district, is going to keep the book, the history book, as it is for 3 years. They're not going to get rid of it. I mean, I am absolutely livid about the indoctrination. That's what it is, indoctrination of Islam and the Muslim ways into our schools. Why? Why? I guess the obvious answer is, look no further than the Oval Office. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's get a weather forecast in here real quick, brought to you by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls, with our dear friend Ryan and the rest of the crew. All the great selection of firearms, Browning, Beretta, Weatherby, Ruger, Benelli, Smith & Wesson, Winchester, all the ammunition and all the accessories, and the people that really can answer your questions at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everybody. Michael Rogers is over the rant. Pretty nice day. You're going to start to work your way to having nicer days as you work your way toward the weekend. And your temperatures are going to be pretty much right in the upper 50s for the daytime highs and the mid to upper 30s for the overnight low. So you're going to slowly but surely taper off and get away from these clouds and really start to have a nice weekend as you get there. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. 436-2244, number to call. And don't forget, our weather brought to you this hour by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. Ryan and the crew serving you. All right, come on, give me a call. What do you think about all this? I mean, for heaven's sakes. Great big story on the news this morning. One dad is fighting down there, and the students were instructed to recite the prayer of the first pillar of Islam. I tell you what, if it were my kids, they'd be out of that school in a heartbeat. And absolutely would not go back unless things are changed. And here's what the Council on American Islamic Relations in Florida said. Oh, this ought to just really make you feel good. In a diverse society, young people should be taught about a wide variety of beliefs, cultures, and faiths, and particularly about a faith practiced by millions of Americans and more than 1/5 of the world's population. Denying all students access to vital information based on biased political or religious agenda of Islam-phobic groups or a handful of misinformed parents does a disservice to our school system, our state, and our nation. History is not kind to those who censor information or ban books. That's from Hassan Shibli, Executive Director of CARE. The part that gets me the maddest is that information based on biased political or religious agenda, you bet I'm biased. You won't let the teachings of Christ in the school. You won't let a Christmas tree in the school. You won't let anything to do with Christ's birth in the school. But you'll let people get on a prayer rug and pray to Islam? You bet I'm biased. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Jeff. I pretty much hit just now what I was calling about. They don't teach any of these Christian prayers in school. They don't allow the Bible in the school anymore, or so much as kids on their own time praying together, or praying for those that they have lost due to an accident or what have you. But yet they'll demand that they learn how to recite an Islamic prayer.
Yeah.
And in my opinion only, Islamic religion is nothing but hate. There's nothing there but contention. There's no love. I've never heard of any other religion outing murder and terrorism upon non-believers.
Well, let me ask you this.
I honestly don't think it's the Church of Christ. I think it's the Church of the Satan himself.
Absolutely. Your opinion is your opinion, and it's verified, and I respect it. But I just was mad when I read that a handful of misinformed parents does a disservice to our school system. Are you kidding me? Where was the same group? Where was CARE? Where was Hassan Shibli when somebody might want to say about Christmas and the birth of Christ? They're all over that in a heartbeat. But oh my, now that it's Islam, a handful of misinformed parents. I got to run. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your call. Thank you. Appreciate it. I wish somebody would call me and let me know if you've ever been to a Muslim hospital. Have you ever seen a Muslim band or orchestra? Where are all the good things in life from these folks? But yet they will sit there and figure out ways to get into our school systems, and then CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, has the audacity to say that a handful of misinformed parents does a disservice to our school system by trying to shut this down? Oh, please. Good morning, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. My opinion about this is it's a matter of fear. These people that are doing things like allowing this stuff in the schools under this present administration, a lot of people have given up, and they figured at some point the Muslims are going to take over, and these people are going to be protected because they've already programmed their children to Muslimism.
I don't care if there's a diversity of faith in this country. I don't care. I don't care about the different faiths being here in this country, but what I do care about is when one takes a preference over any and all of the others, and it's taught in the school system with a blatant attitude like the principal and CARE and these other people saying, oh, gee, the 100 pages about Christianity and Judaism, why, for heaven's sakes, they must have been lost.
Well, because of this programming that's going on in the schools, children no longer have a choice of what they want the kid be growing up with.
Yeah.
That's my concern is.
Yep, I agree. And you and I have talked about this many, many times, about what's happening in this country. And also, like recently, one of my favorite people to have on this program, Martin Moyer, with his book Twilight in America, which I know you're familiar with, etc. That we've got a lot to be concerned about, my dear friend. Yes, we do. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
God bless you, man. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Bye.
Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's throw another kink in this. What have all the wars that we've had? What is the number one reason that they've happened?
Well, which wars are you talking about? More definitive.
Every one of them, because they've all started because somebody wants something that the other country has.
Mm-hmm. Or it's a jealousy of what they don't have. Exactly.
If you look at it. You look at the country, the United States. Everything that we have, all the knowledge, all the schooling, all the technical stuff that we have within this country's borders, and then what has the Islamic States have?
Are we to be? I know it, but are we to be condemned? Are we to be looked down upon because we have a lot of the natural assets a lot of people don't have? We've cultivated those assets. We're a progressive country that wants to do better, live better, and have our society fare better. And these other people seem to want to go back to the 7th century and control people, kill people, and absolutely have a society that relies on water at the oasis.
Well, that the thing is, we got to look at these people and see just what's going on. A lot of their top doctors of that, where were they trained? Here in the United States.
Right.
They're nursing that here in the United States. That's where they came from. What do they want? They're pushing their people in here. They want to take over. They want to control it.
You know, I just have nothing to be ashamed of. You do not either. We have lived hard and worked hard and played hard and earned our money, and we were very, very fortunate and God blessed to have been born into this country. But other nations, if they would sit there and say, we're jealous of the United States, but we're going to use the assets that we have and we're going to try to help our people and try to be a better nation. But they're not doing that. They're always, like you said when you started, jealousy breeds contempt and wars.
That's exactly it right there. You know, jealousy, money, corruption.
I got to run, buddy. Don't work too hard. Take care.
See you, my friend.
All right, take care. Don't forget the Founders Celebration going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, honoring, of course, the great founder, Mr. Les Schwab. What a man he was, absolutely. And they've got tires, all-season tread tires, economically priced, some starting as low as just $39.99. Oh, my goodness. And, of course, the very best in brake service, and I'm talking the very best in brake service. And then, of course, they've got all your batteries, your front-end alignment, shocks and struts, everything. You stop in and see them today. All 7 locations, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Okay, now, next hour, we have Dr. Grazi Pozzo Christi. You don't want to say that fast 5 times. And she's going to be getting on the program this morning, and we're going to have an interesting conversation about what's happening in the news with various subjects. And then Tim Graham at 9:30 is going to discuss Brian Williams, this mess with NBC News head Brian Williams and his lies and his distortion of the news and his thinking he was going to get away with it. And then, of course, at 10:06 this morning, Dr. History. And then at 10:32 this morning, we're going to have Representative Clark Kaufman coming on the air talking about the transportation budget, etc. Don't miss it. Going to be good. Happy birthday today to Mary Johnson. Happy birthday to you, Mary, and many, many more. We appreciate you. You're just a great fan of this program. We're going to take a little break right now and be back in 6. Zeb at the Ranch, don't you go away. Oh my, hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch, and we're so glad to have you be a part of our program this morning. And of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. And of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, locally owned and operated, Western Waste Services. And I'll tell you what, Kelly and the crew, they really, really care about your business, and they take care of you. I'm on the route service. We have been for many, many years right here. And let me tell you, you can almost set your watch by these people. They're so reliable. And besides the route service, you know, they've got, of course, all the dumpsters, and they've got everything for you to get rid of your garbage. So please give them a call, 734-6969. And all the porta potties, you name it, they can serve you. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. We, I think, are going to go to our guest in a few moments, I hope. And before we do that, I want to remind everybody about Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with our dear friend Joel Heward as the manager. You know, Joel is just one of those guys, the most likable person, always smiling and just so helpful to anybody and everybody in the community, along with his family and the staff. Very flexible hours to serve you when you need to be served. That's right. When there's a passing of a loved one, they are always there, willing to help you with all the arrangements. And please remember the number, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. Let's go over to Gina and ask her. Our doctor is not there.
No, I've tried multiple times to call her and no answer.
This does not bode well for someone that was depending on them to be there and on the program this morning.
I know.
Yeah, and so I'm going to call on Deanne to come back here and possibly email Mathilde and find out where our little girl is. In the interim, boy, help, call me at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I know you folks can help me with something right here this morning, and Deanne's right here in this office, and she can hear almost every word, but that's okay. I need some innovative ideas for Valentine's Day. Give me something different. Give me something different than a box of candy. Give me something different than flowers or whatever. And we're getting a long-distance call. Maybe that's the doctor on the other line. And I need some ideas. I haven't been able, as Gina knows, to go shopping as I used to because of my doggone knee. And so I just need some refreshing new ideas as to what to give my lovely bride for Valentine's Day. And I'm not going to say what I'm going to give her if you have a great idea, but I appreciate some of the calls, maybe with some innovative, fresh ideas. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I hope is coming in, let's not forget our dear friends, of course, and that's Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Oh, my goodness. You better get a hold of those good folks. They've got all kinds of things for you over at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. And they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, and Saturdays 10 to 4. All your home decor items, carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, whatever you need to make your house a home. And all kinds of great innovative ideas for your house to make it look bigger, better, brighter, whatever. And look for the blue door at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, serving you. The doctor is not in this morning, and evidently we had a problem, and I wasn't aware of her not being there, but we'll certainly try and find out where she is. So give me a call. Come on, somebody out there in the audience that has great ideas on what to give your spouse for Valentine's Day. Just give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, you're always so doggone good at ideas. Go ahead.
I'm sitting here racking my brain because I always like to give unique gifts, not the traditional norm. And so this year, not going to give out candy or flowers, and I don't expect candy or flowers. I want something unique, and I think that's what a lot of people are interested in. So my suggestion would be create your own card. Use things from around your yard or your home, something that would be sentimental to your significant other.
Now, that is a home run. I like that.
I always, my favorite thing to do usually is to make them their favorite dinner.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Hold on just a second. We've got a phone call.
Okay, hold on. Now, of course, when you say make them their favorite dinner, that absolutely excludes me because I can't boil water without wrecking the stove. So please don't push that one on me. Is that call for us, Gina?
Yes, it is the doctor.
Oh, it's the doctor calling in. Okay, well, Gina, thank you very, very much. I like that idea that you had just a moment ago. And Deanne, can I please have those sheets back as soon as possible? Thank you. The doctor is on the air, and I'm going to say her name, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. Dr. Grazi Pozo Christie. How close was I?
It was very close. Gracie Pozo Christie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. You wrote
I'm late.
Oh, that's okay. We're going to have to hurry up to catch up, but we'll get it in here. You wrote a very interesting article about Kevin Cochran's Liberty and Ours. I want you to give the gist of the article, and then we'll start tearing it apart and discussing it after you're done. Go ahead.
I brought up in the article the hypocrisy of the secular progressive position that celebrates the rights of free speech of people like the cartoonists of Charlie Hebdo in Paris, which they should, to denigrate major religions like Islam and Christianity and Judaism. And at the same time, they are very happy that a man like Kelvin Cochran was fired for expressing his religious beliefs that they don't happen to agree with. So there's double standard there and a hypocrisy that I think has to be pointed out.
All right, now, I want to just read this one, the second paragraph, and please allow me to do this, and then we'll discuss it. You wrote, quote, Kelvin Cochran, the former chief of the Atlanta Fire Department, was fired for his sincere Christian convictions, which he was foolish enough to publish in a book. He holds the suddenly unfashionable views that sex should only be in the context of an exclusive marriage comprised by one man and one woman. Now, let's take it from there. Do you mean to tell me this man was absolutely fired from his job because of this Christian viewpoint that has been since time immemorial an expressed philosophy about marriage?
That's exactly what happened to poor Mr. Cochran. He self-published a book where he spoke about his Christian faith and happened to mention Christian ideals of marriage, which are the same as Jewish ideals and other major religions' ideals. And without being accused of discrimination, he was fired from his work.
Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Dr. Christie, that I support him, and I guess if you're going to say it's discrimination, I'm going to support discrimination, because this whole country, this whole United States of America, has got away from a moral fabric of what's right, what's wrong, what's normal, what's abnormal, what's black, what's white, and it's about time that we started to rebuild the basics in this country.
I agree with you, and I think it's very important to remember to notice that the New York Times itself said that Mr. Cochran had not actually discriminated against anybody that was working under him or with him. So this was strictly on the basis of the book that he self-published, strictly on the basis of his own opinions, which have been shared by all people for hundreds of years, thousands.
So he got fired, and does he have any recourse? Bring us up to speed as to what's happening with his situation.
Well, he's now suing for religious discrimination. He's suing the city, and I think he has a very good case. The city indicates that they will fight back, that they're not going to back down.
So the gist of your story is what? What freedoms have we lost? What rights have we lost? Where are we headed? Are we in the dumpster and we're never going to climb out? What's happening here?
Well, the gist of the story is that as a culture, we are our values that founded us, so the values that motivate us to do so many wonderful things, like form families, they're under attack. And people in the secular progressive camp, they want to shut us up and they want to push us out of the public square and make our opinions invalid. And that is a danger not just for us, but for the entire society.
When you say push us out of the public square, and I'm kind of a real pugnacious personality, and I'm not going to apologize for it. Nobody's going to push me off this radio program. Nobody's going to tell me that I can't be conservative. Nobody's going to tell me I can't stand up for right and wrong. Nobody's going to tell me that I can't say that the gay lifestyle is normal, because it's not. It's abnormal, and I'm going to keep reporting on that. Why can't people get a backbone and fight back?
Because they're buying into that idea that these are civil rights issues at play, and people are becoming scared. I mean, look at what happened to poor Mr. Cochran. Can you imagine losing your livelihood, a married man with 3 children, just because he expressed his views? I mean, this is something unheard of in the history of our country. It's becoming very aggressive. The whole society is going to suffer, not just religious people.
What, if I may ask, what town, what major city, or whatever area are you in right now this morning? I mean, what part of the United States are you in?
I'm in Miami, Florida.
Okay, now Miami. I would imagine that for you to go outside and stand in the city square, as it were, in Miami, and espouse the same conservative viewpoints, what would happen to you?
Well, you get a lot of pushback. People, they don't want to hear it. They immediately jump to the fact. They say you're bigoted. You don't want to live and let live. And it's a scary environment, and it's becoming scarier.
Dr. Christie, you touched on it right there. The left, quite frankly, they have been very good at turning things around, and then naturally people are always bigoted or they're hate mongers. They did it to me in 2008 when Obama ran for his first election. I don't like the man. I've never liked his ideology. And here's what's interesting. At the same time that they were criticizing and calling me a racist all over the United States, Idaho talk show host, a racist, I was supporting Condoleezza Rice. Now tell me about that ambiguity.
Well, it's the call of racism or the accusation of racism is just a club to beat your opponents with. It's just that they're very good at it. So they use the club of racism or intolerance or bigotry simply as a way to shut other viewpoints out of polite society so they can have all their own way.
Okay, so in everything, there's got to be an answer. I mean, in every 30-minute television show or an hour Western on the old days, Bonanza, whatever, you create the plot, you create the crime, and then you solve the crime and you solve the plot, and everybody rides off into the sunset happily ever after. What about this? How do we come up with some kind of an answer to fight back?
Well, we all have to be very loud in our own spheres. Wherever we are, we have to be brave. Post interesting articles on your Facebook page. Write comments on the internet when you read something. Write to your editor of your newspaper. Let them know that that our culture is not going to be decided on their terms simply because they've decided to shut us up.
In one of the paragraphs in your story, you wrote, and I quote again, "A society that no longer has room or respect for faith will marginalize the many millions of sincere faithful." That's a really heavy sentence right there. I like that because we're seeing Christianity just absolutely thrown down on the street and stepped on, as the same for Judaism. And it seems like even our schools, like what's going on down in Seminole County, down in your state of Florida, they've introduced Islam into the school system. And oh, by the way, somebody forgot to include the pages on Christianity and Judaism. Well, son of a gun. And they're only teaching about Muslims. Talk about that.
Well, the left doesn't want any religion in the public square. The left wants to annihilate all of our opinions. But they feel more comfortable supporting Islam, I think, because it's a very small proportion of our society that's Muslim. But they're against all of us. They're equal opportunity. So because Christians are more numerous, they need to shut us up. They really feel they need to shut us up.
You know, they keep using, and there's such a bunch of phonies. They're like a credit card that the number's been hacked off the bottom. They're just completely worthless when they keep saying, oh, you're intolerant. Oh, you're not this, you're not that. But who really is the intolerant one?
You know, there's a point I make in the article which I think is so important, and I try to tell them, I have liberal friends, believe it or not, and I try to tell them that if you create a perfectly secular society and you shut down the churches and the temples, you're not going to have schools of virtue. I mean, that's what people learn when they go to church and when they go to temple. They learn virtues that help every citizen be a more virtuous citizen, and that's what you need in a democracy. You need people to be good so they can vote well and we can have a good country. That's what you're shutting down.
You know, and when you talk about voting, Dr. Christie, again, this might sound like a sidetrack, but it actually ties into what we're talking about. Last night on television, I saw, let's say, 18 to 30-year-olds, and I just absolutely said, buckle up, because if this is what's going to take over this country, we're in a lot of trouble. They did a man-on-the-street interview with these kids down in your home state of Florida, and quite frankly, none of them, except maybe one or two, knew anything about ISIS or knew anything about what's happening in the news today with Bo Bergdahl or what's happening with the Taliban. Boy, Dr. Christie, it's scary that these kids are so not misinformed, but non-informed.
Yeah, there's a lot of ignorance walking around out there. But can I say something about young people?
Absolutely.
Positive. Young people are now more pro-life than they were before, and more. I think they're more understanding of how sexual liberation and all that kind of lifestyle has damaged their generation.
Why is that?
I'm hoping.
Why is that, though? I mean, what made the change? What caused the transition? What backed them up and said, "Oh, wait a minute, we've got to have more respect for life"? What happened?
Well, first of all, science, because now we see ultrasound shows us that there's an actual baby inside who's sucking his thumb, and babies are being born very prematurely, and when a baby's born prematurely, he has all the rights of an American, but inside his mom, he has no rights. So I think that has changed minds, but also they've seen the results of those lifestyles on their own lives. Divorce and cohabitation and unstable relationships and difficulty getting ahead in life for them because they've experienced all these lifestyles which are damaging. So I think they've learned better. So
you possibly are looking at the entirety of this story across the board, and you're saying that there may be some hope that we're not all going down into the sewage pit?
I think we need to stay with the hope because, these, now with homosexual marriage and all that, we're going to see now what that means. It's going to have a negative impact on our society. And I know that people are going to be able to open their... It's already doing that because they said, people will be able to marry and who cares? It won't damage you in any way. But now we're seeing that it's pushing religious people against the wall. So now we're seeing the reality of what they propose, and that's going to open a lot of eyes.
Let me ask you this final thought here this morning. Your area, I mean, a lot of the areas, if you will, across the United States are either very, very liberal, or like San Francisco, or very, very conservative, like right here in southern Idaho. There's a good change right there. What about Miami? What about conservatism versus liberalism? What kind of an area are you from, and what are you seeing?
Well, Miami has a lot of conservatives because there's a lot of Hispanics that attend church every Sunday and have a conservative way of looking at life and also politics. But Miami, like other places, is a very big cosmopolitan place, and it has pockets of intense liberalism as well. I think we're pretty much a little bit of a bellwether. We go with there's lots of everything here.
At the end of your story, and I love this, you said maybe they'll run across that old standard somewhere, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, the golden rule, and you honestly think there's hope for that, right?
Of course, because right now they think they have it all their own way, and they get to dictate the terms of how everyone else should live. Well, guess what? When you're dictating terms, maybe one day the terms are not going to be the ones you agree with. And so our country was founded on live and let live. On freedoms to express ourselves and be the people that our consciences tell us we want to be.
All
we need to extend that to us as well.
One final thought, Dr. Christie. What happened to your Miami Heat this year? And they're not playing as well.
Oh, I don't know. I know my children and my husband are very upset, but I don't exactly know what happened.
Okay. God bless you for being on my program. Dr. Christie, please come back in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All righty. Dr. Gracie Pozo Christie, and she wrote a very interesting piece about Kelvin Cochran's Liberty and Ours, how this man expressed his staunch religious feelings and was fired from his job as chief of the Atlanta Fire Department. Thank you very much for being on the program this morning. Nice lady right there. Had never talked to her before. Hey, happy Valentine's Day. Don't forget, stop over to Whipple's Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. And they've got perfect gifts for your Valentine. Yeah, you're not kidding. They've got all the books. I mean, floors and floors of books and all the precious moments and the greeting cards and the art supplies and the jewelry. Oh, my goodness. The Book Plaza has it all. Come visit them today, and you will not go away empty-handed. Whipple's Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. You stop in and mention that you heard this us on Zeb at the Ranch. Get 10% off your purchase at Whipple's Book Plaza. Oh, and I love doing this commercial for Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley. Oh, have they got some great dining delicacies for you. Their Valentine's Day features are called Coast to Coast Classics, like the San Francisco Shrimp Stir Fry. Oh, that's good. And the Philly after Philadelphia Steak Melt. Oh, boy. Monterey Shrimp Pasta, Big Baja Benedict, Rocky Mountain Scramble, and the Oregon Apple Brioche French Toast Platter. Oh, my goodness sakes. They've got a delicious bakery. It's all there. It's all there at Perkins Restaurant. Happy Valentine's Day. 800 North Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Woo! That sounds good. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Also want to remind you about Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn, where the fun is sold. Holy smokes. They've got rebates on dirt bikes right now. Great time to buy. And Deanne told me the other day when she talked to Nick over there, he said, hey, tell everybody if they want to get their ATVs in there now to be serviced for spring, now is the time, before they just absolutely get deluged with four-wheelers all over the place. I'm taking mine over there. You should yours too. So stop over. They got a great service department. I mean, really the top-notch qualified people working on your ATVs right there at Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. And that, of course, is where the fun is sold. You stop over and see those good folks today. A reminder again that this coming Saturday at Magic Valley Tire in Paul, there will not be an energy shortage. There's going to be an excess of probably flammable gas, because they're going to be having the chili championships over there this Saturday, Valentine's Day, Saturday, February 14th. And if you'd like to enter your chili in the contest, call Amber at 438-8444, and they're going to judge the chili at 10:30, and then they're going to start eating all the chili and the cinnamon rolls free to you. Stop over and enjoy. But there is a challenge, and I'm challenging. Mad Max told me that there has never been a chili, ever, that has made him back up and go, woo, that's too hot. Let's see if somebody can go in and make him pucker up and sweat. At Magic Valley Tire this Saturday, Mad Max and the crew, great big chili championship. It's going to be great. Don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens. Highway 24 in Rupert, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and much, much more by Dean Cameron Todd Siemens, dedicated and responsive to your needs. All you have to do is just call and make an appointment. They will take care of you. 436-4424, the number to call. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Let's go to the phone lines right now, and then...
Hold on, I'm dialing.
Oh, don't scare me like that. I mean, all of a sudden, out of the blue, hold on, I'm dialing. I mean, my goodness sakes, someone could have an accident. Well, she's dialing for dollars and going to be getting our next guest on the air, and that's going to be Tim Graham at the Media Research Center, and we're going to have him on talking about Brian Williams from NBC. While we're waiting for that, I also want to remind you about your hearing. Can you hear what I just said? Did you hear all that? You didn't? Well, maybe you'd better get your hearing checked. Hearing loss is not a part of aging. So really, you should get in there. About 20% of the adults in the United States, that's over 48 million people, report some degree of hearing loss. Well, have your hearing checked at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And the number to call and make an appointment, 312-0957. 312-0957. Did you hear that? Gina, have you got him?
Got him.
All righty, thank you much. On the air with me right now, a gentleman that's been on this program many times in the past, and I always look forward to having him back, and that's, of course, Tim Graham with the Media Research Center. Good morning, Mr. Graham Cracker. How are you?
Good morning.
Are you keeping busy back there, trying to figure out what's going on with all the liberals and conservatives?
Well, it is an ongoing mess for Brian Williams.
You know,
everything he says seems to come up wrong.
You know, let me ask you a little bit of a preview question on that. How in the world could a man that basically has been handed the golden throne, if you will, of newscasting on NBC, and everybody looks up to him like he's some sort of a media god, how could he be so doggone dumb and do what he did?
Yeah, well, part of it is, I think, when you get inside that bubble where everybody has to be loyal to you and tell you you're wonderful, they have to tell you you're funny, that's required. Oh, Brian, you're so funny, you're so urbane, you're so witty. And so nobody says, well, that sounded ridiculous, what you just said.
Give us, as the chimes go off in the background with your great big Father Time clock, give us a little example of what started the meltdown on his igloo of not telling the truth.
Well, he had done an event at Madison Square Garden in New York City, designed to honor an Iraq vet. But of course, this was supposedly about honoring the vet, but it was more sort of about honoring Brian, because then he went on the air and announced this whole thing, that we had this event at Madison Square Garden to honor him, and then he told this story again of, on NBC News air, that the helicopter we were in got hit by a rocket-propelled grenade. And that's where everybody said, what? And that prompted a story by Stars and Stripes with the people who were actually in that set of helicopters, some of whom had been complaining about this for years. NBC was certainly aware of this complaint, and just nothing happened. So it was, this broke out on social media. It broke out in a way that then Williams had to apologize. But even the apology was sort of a weird,
Absolutely.
Yeah, my apologies. I was just trying to honor those brave veterans.
Yeah.
I hope they understand how much I honor them.
Yeah, I listened to the apology, Tim, and you're right back there in the thick of things, but it was so limply put together, and it didn't mean anything. But why? How could he misconstrue an AK-47 or an RPG hitting something that he's riding in? How could you possibly start such a fabrication knowing that everybody else that was around there or studied it is going to call you a liar?
Yeah, what's interesting is, of course, we can go back and pull up the newscasts from that time and found his event here in 2003 where he accurately reported that an RPG in front of him was hit and that they were all on the ground in a sandstorm. He got it right on the air, and their first defense at NBC was sort of like, well, whatever exaggerations he's been telling people, he didn't do it on NBC. Well, obviously, this latest incident was on NBC. That's how it got blown open. But it did come out that he's been telling the versions of the story for years. It came out very quickly that he had told this whole story on the David Letterman show. So that's a national, talk show, claiming his helicopter got hit by an RPG. That was just last year. And I guess the sad thing about all of this is, where were we last year that we missed that?
Yeah.
Or that we accepted that story? I think we just missed it. You can't watch every comedy show. But it is it's something that people probably should have raised questions about at that particular moment. But again, it does say to you, these news anchor people are powerful, and when a news scandal breaks like this, the last people to touch this was ABC and CBS, not alone NBC. CNN did its stuff, which was good. Fox did its news. But ABC and CBS it had to go on the front page of the New York Times before they would acknowledge that some problem existed.
But now the problem seems to be exacerbated, and there's more people that are coming forward, especially over the Hurricane Katrina mess in New Orleans, and the quote-unquote dead bodies floating by the Ritz-Carlton, and boy, it seems like he's opening up his foot and putting his mouth back on top of his foot again.
Yeah, I mean, as we understand, there wasn't flooding in the French Quarter. That's where he claimed he was. Well, then it came out he was at the Ritz-Carlton. Well, of course, this sort of starts to, make you just wonder what's going on, because, he was telling these tales about how, we were all poor, we all didn't have enough to eat, covering this hurricane. Oh, well, you went home to the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. I mean, maybe they didn't have all their power, I don't know, but it's still the Ritz-Carlton. It's a little hard to, that detail didn't make it into your brave story about how hungry you were for a Slim Jim. It's just the more you read these things. This was from a special they did a year afterwards on NBC News where he talked about how hungry he was for a Slim Jim, and how he was so concerned about the crime after Hurricane Katrina that he was carrying around a case of Vienna sausage in case he got carjacked.
Oh, my. That one I had not heard yet.
I blogged that on Newsbusters because it just made me go, what on earth is this guy talking about? I'm ready to exchange my life for a case of Vienna sausage.
Oh, my goodness. And then what about, if you will, Tim, the case of where he said he was in New Orleans and he got some bad water that he ingested and he ended up with dysentery, much of which the information I really didn't care to hear about at breakfast time. What about that part of the story?
Well, that too, if you go back to, he was doing something called the Daily Nightly, which was a blog at MSNBC.com, and there's no mention in there of him getting dysentery, no mention of him seeing a body. Well, obviously, dysentery is a nasty case of gastroenteritis with bloody diarrhea. You can't tell me that you could have that and then do news 24/7. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And that's one of those things. And the doctors down there in New Orleans said, we did not see a case of dysentery. And that's why now NBC News has had to say, well, we're gonna put our own investigative reporters on investigating these stories. Well, the sad thing about all of this is, the TV writer for Time Magazine said yesterday, NBC News would never buy a corporation like General Motors saying, don't worry, NBC, we're on this. We're doing an internal investigation.
Let me ask you this.
We'll let you know when there's something worth talking about.
Let me ask you this, Tim. Again, you're close to this and you know the story, but I'm an old guy. I remember the Walter Cronkites. I remember the Huntley-Brinkley report. I remember the integrity. I remember the honesty, and I remember the heartfelt emotions in the news business. And what happened to honesty and integrity? Is this gone now, or is it more than just Brian Williams, or is this an isolated case?
Well, you certainly hope that somebody can do a TV newscast with some integrity. That's the way so many Americans get their news, is off television. So you certainly hope every day that we've got TV news people in this country that have some integrity. I don't think, we've always tried to say to people, TV news isn't your most reliable, dependable, substantive news. You really should try to read something. But I think that this really is a far cry from what people expect of their TV news. And yes, we had an era back in the day where the network newscasts were much more dominant than they are now. Mm-hmm. And we had a day back then, I remember, I'm old enough to remember when they would put via satellite on the screen, like that was a big deal.
Right.
Here's our reporting via satellite. Whoa. Back then the news was newsy. It's right now the news is, let's do 5 minutes on the snow in Boston, and then we'll do 5 minutes on the Grammys. And, there's just not a lot of news in the newscast.
When you look at this situation with Brian Williams, and a lot of people say, oh, okay, so he lied, it's over and done with, he's gone. It's more than just that. I mean, he's tried to gain something as far as notoriety and take a part of the American public and their heart and their mind with him by lying. What about his career? Is he toast? Is he done? Is he going to make a comeback? What do you think will happen to this man?
Well, we've certainly suggested that this kind of lying, and it's just going to, again, we're going to hear more and more about it. We posted today about how he told a class of journalism students in Philadelphia last year, I've seen thousands of dead people. These things we're going to be able to dig up more and more of these. He was operating in a zone where he didn't have to tell the truth, and more of this is going to come out. And I think they're going to end up determining they can't keep him in the spot where they had him. I can't tell you what will happen next. I mean, Dan Rather still thinks he's on TV, right? He's on, what is it called now? The Access Channel. But nobody watches him. So that could be, I don't know what will happen to Brian Williams, but I think if NBC wants to stay credible as a news organization, they're going to have to let him go.
And the general thought from your organization and what they think about this, will this possibly be a good thing and turn Brian Williams into a poster boy of what not to do and maybe help clean up the news?
Well, you'd like to think so. I mean, Dan Rather was followed by Katie Couric, so that didn't seem like much of a lesson in terms of substance. But now CBS News, of the three networks, does the most substantive news. I can't say it's always fair and balanced, but it's just the most serious of the broadcast news networks. So, yes, you want to, again, hold out hope that the news that they're going to do a year from now is better than what we've seen.
All right.
And sadly, Brian Williams, Dan Rather went down swinging wildly at a president of the United States. Brian Williams has been the most obsequious interviewer of Barack Obama. Just an embarrassing, servile performer. It would be nice to get somebody. I mean, Savannah Guthrie interviewed him for NBC, and at least it wasn't embarrassing. I mean, she had an interview before the Super Bowl that was kind of embarrassing because it seemed to be all about beer and stuff. But the one she did on the Today Show at least was a newsmaker interview.
And I'd like to comment on that a little bit. I said on my program after the fact of that interview that in many respects, and please understand where I'm coming from, in many respects, the questions and the way they were directed as almost coming out of left field and going right across home plate for a strike, I thought she caught Obama a little bit off guard, and I thought some of her interview was more poignant than the year before with O'Reilly's badgering and bullying. I'd like you to respond to that.
Well, I mean, I think that, I've been interviewed by Bill O'Reilly. He sometimes you wish you'd get more time to speak before he starts speaking again. But, I would much prefer Bill O'Reilly nudging Obama around. It's vastly preferable to what Obama gets a lot of times, which is, please give us an 8-minute answer and we'll sit here and make sweetie pie eyes at you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, Tim, you're right there in the thick of things, along with your boss, Brent Bozell, and the rest of them. I've got the highest respect for what you do, and thanks for coming on and talking about this situation. Please know you're always welcome. Tim Graham, thank you very much this morning.
Thanks.
You bet. Take care. Media Research Center back in New York and Washington, D.C., and I work a lot with those people back there. Brent Bozell's son, David, has been on our program many, many times, and will be in the future, too. Holy cow, it's time for the weather, and the weather this hour is brought to everybody by Urgent Care, Riverview Urgent Care, and Medical Center in Burley. My goodness, here's the location. 382 North Overland in Burley, telephone number number to remember, 678-6996. Minor emergencies, major care. They will, yes, they will see you today. Don't forget they treat everyday injuries and illnesses like ear infections, sprains, strains, and fractures. Absolutely, right there when you absolutely need help. They're there to serve you. They will see you today. All you have to do is call them, 678-6996. Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center in Burley. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everybody. Michael Rogers is over the rant. Pretty nice day. You're going to start to work your way to having nicer days as you work your way toward the weekend. And your temperatures are going to be pretty much right in the upper 50s for the daytime highs and the mid to upper 30s for the overnight low. So you're going to slowly but surely taper off and get away from these clouds and really start to have a nice weekend as you get there. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. These are really nice people, believe me, at 382 North Overland in Burley. Number to call, 678-6996. Remember, minor emergency, but major care. You can be seen today, okay? Earlier, we were talking to Gina, and she came up with some innovative ideas for Valentine's Day, you know, making up a nice card that's heartfelt and maybe taking a picture and putting it on there. You didn't get a chance to really finish your thought, and I apologize. Our guest was a little bit late getting on. I want you to go ahead and finish that if you have just a moment.
Well, okay, so I just went ahead and I because, you know, I Google a lot of things just so I can get good ideas. Of course, making a homemade card, something that you find around the house, grab some old pictures, things like that. You can make something very sentimental, something that they're not going to say, oh, gee, thanks, babe, and then, you know, a couple days later throw it in the trash. So you want to keep something or make something that they're going to keep for a while, right?
Okay.
The whole point of Valentine's Day?
Now, Deanne's sitting less than 10 feet away from me. I'll work your theory on her as we sit live on the air. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Deanne, how would you like for Valentine's Day, instead of buying you a great big expensive gift or taking you out to a big fancy frivolous dinner or buying you a dozen roses or buying you 5 pounds of candy, how would you like me to sit down at my desk and make a personalized card with a picture of something that we've done together in the past, and that would be it? You know what she said? Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Oh, so here's a fun little idea.
Okay. Wait a minute, I got to get my pen. How dare you start before I'm prepared?
No. What you can do is, and this would be a fun little idea, do you guys like to go on picnics?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you make a date for a picnic.
Oh.
You know, get a little box, and inside the box you write down just on a piece of paper, a picnic of your choice at a location of your choice.
Oh, my goodness.
Or you could take them to, for Valentine's Day, pack up a picnic, and then take them to a spot that is significant, maybe a park, maybe it's a river, maybe, you know, something like that. You want to keep your Valentine's gifts personal, something that is specific to you and your significant other.
I don't know if the water idea is a good idea, because as mad as she gets at me sometimes, I'd be drowned and they'd find me floating down the snake. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Well, that's why you butter her up prior to, so she doesn't have those urges.
You know, I think that you're in the wrong line of work. You should open up a business called Gina's Family Marriage Counseling.
You know what I used to do for Valentine's Day, and I used to do this for my parents. I used to make them coupon books.
Really?
You know, like, yeah, I would. I would make a coupon book, and like one coupon would say 1 hour of cleaning.
Oh, no, wait a minute. I'm way ahead of you on this already.
Yeah, so I would make like a coupon book of, you know, a 1 hour massage.
Oh, yeah.
Or you know, I will vacuum the floor, or, you know, something that's fun, so they can, you know, present this coupon and say, okay, this is what I want you to do, or this is where we get to go, you know, or one free movie date, or you know, things like that. You've got to make the gifts fun, but make them personal. Put some thought into
How did your dad respond to the coupon book?
Oh, they loved them.
Really?
Oh, they loved them. I'd put like an hour of chopping wood, or go out and stack the wood. You make them specific for the parents.
I could see where you might not have been invited back for Thanksgiving dinner.
It was a lot of fun. So I like to make personal gifts.
That is a good idea. Do we have a call?
They hung up.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
They didn't like the coupon book.
Well, apparently not. But if anybody else has ideas, please call in. Let us know.
No, but now this is innovative, and I'll tell you something that's heartfelt. I mean, everything you've said so far is just really a good idea.
It's all about being creative. I've had lots of years to practice, because when you're broke, you've got to come up with something creative, right?
Oh, man.
I've just always made sure, I always find things around the house to make something unique that they're going to want to keep in their, in their chest, or their, someplace special, and they're not just going to make its way to the garbage can later on.
Well, now, I'll tell you what, folks, there you have it. Advice to the lovelorn. All we need is a little violin music in the background, and we could introduce this segment as Here Comes Miss Romance, Gina Jameson, into your hearts and minds. Thank you very much. She's gone. I got to do a commercial. I'll be right back. We'll talk more about that. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk to you about Parkview Rehabilitation and Care Center. These people really care. I mean, really care. That's words that need to be underlined. 2303 Park Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 677-3073. It's a nursing home, and it provides medical nursing service for seniors with serious illnesses or disabilities 24/7, delivered by registered nurses and licensed practical nurses, people that care. Absolutely. It's time for you to get the care you need, and when you're in their hands, you can rest assured that you're getting the best care there is. Plain and simple. That's the truth. Parkview Rehabilitation and Care Center, 2303 Park Avenue in Burley. Number to call again, 677-3073. Let's see if Gina's got another call over there. Do we have another call?
No, nobody's called.
Oh, I thought I heard that. No, I'm writing all this stuff down. You really have some great ideas. I mean, husbands, it's a husband alert. Husband alert. Listen to what she said, because that makes a lot of sense. And she's gone.
Got a phone call.
Okay. Thank you, caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, I can barely hear you, but I hope you can hear me okay.
You're coming through loud and clear, my friend. Go ahead.
I want to bring up a topic that's a little different than Valentine's Day, but something I don't hear you talking about.
Uh-oh.
Now, I am your age, and I am on Medicare, and I have a supplement to go along with it.
Uh-huh.
But when I went on Medicare, I noticed, and I'm not going to give names, that our doctor of 35 years dropped us.
Uh-huh.
We had to go find another doctor, and I have family that's in the medical profession, and I'm hearing more and more that the people that can buy the most expensive insurance are going to get good care, but Medicare and that type of programs, you're not going to get good care. You're going to have the haves and the have-nots.
Well, as a matter of...
Since this happened to me, I went and got my taxes done, and my accountant said his in-laws got dropped.
Right.
And it is getting to be a major problem. And
I'm glad.
The medical profession in the United States seems to me to be out of line.
Let me just jump in here.
The fees are exorbitant, and I looked at. I went and got my eyes tested. My eye doctor was complaining about it.
Uh-huh.
I said, I pay you cash. We don't have eye insurance under Medicare, but he was saying there, if you ever have a cataract or anything like that, if you're on Medicare, they don't want to do it. They'd rather spend their time with patients that have better insurance. And I looked at him and said, we all get old. You have to go on Medicare. You have to take it. And he told me that Medicare is going to be cut another 20% April 21st. And he said it's going to be worse.
Well, let me just jump in here. Let me jump in here for a minute. Whoa. I'm almost out of time, so listen to me very carefully. What you said this morning has not gone above or beyond our hearing, because I've had many people call me on this, and we try to get all the subjects and segments on this program that we can during the course of the week. Now, that being said, you're one jump ahead of my dribbling the basketball, because next Tuesday we are going to have a full half-hour segment on this, exactly what you're talking about. It's already set. It's already lined up, so don't forget. It's going to be either on at 10:06 next Tuesday, or it's going to be on at 10:30. I'm not sure because of the guest trying to figure out his time, but it's going to be covered next week.
Great. I appreciate it. I look forward to listening to it.
All right.
Talk to you later, Zach.
God bless you, sir. I appreciate that very much. Brings up a very valid point about Medicare. And, of course, now me being my age that I am, I'm very concerned about various things also in that regard. We are going to have a program on that. We're looking at next Tuesday right now at 10:30 primarily. And we'll have more on that as the beginning of next week starts. So to the caller, thank you. I appreciate your inquiry. We're going to take a quick break. Dr. History's coming up next. Don't go away. I see a lot of clouds out there, and way over to the north I see a little blue sky. Good morning, hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch, and of course I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, and some of our great advertisers, including Western Way Services, always at your disposal, locally owned and operated. Get on the route service. Get rid of your garbage. Call them at 734-6969. Wonderful folks. You know, I got to hand it to the Chadwick Sports Grill. My goodness. Yesterday they had such a delicious special. And today on Tuesday, listen to this. This sounds fantabulous. Chicken pasta with lime, served with garlic toast and super salad. I mean, get your grinners going. You're going to love it. Great food, great menu items, always great specials. The people are phenomenal at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Absolutely delicious. Oh my, you know what? Now it's time for a favorite segment of mine on this program, and it's, of course, Dr. History, and it's brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley. Number to call, 878-2091, right across from the Burley Airport. And Zach and Joanne, they've got everything from windows to garage doors to back doors for your house. I just bought one. Lumber, carpet, vinyl, and metal siding, and they've even got the very best in livestock equipment with Tartar Ranch and farm equipment. Absolutely the best at Minnecasia Sales. And now, without further ado, with the curtain being peeled back for Dr. History. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zab. Doing great today.
Real quick, I understand you're going to take a trip to China.
That's what I'm looking at in April, to go over and visit some of the students and
that are listening to this program.
Yes.
And they haven't severed relations with our country.
Not as of yet, but so I'm hoping I make it over there.
Please be careful.
I will. Okay. I will.
All right. What are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about a bank robbery gone bad and a local hero.
Okay, a bank robbery gone bad. This sounds like a lot of TV westerns, and it sounds like a little bit like Jesse James and his gang.
Okay, no.
Oh, okay.
But some kind of famous guys.
I see. All right.
So, murder screamed the headline of the Delta, Colorado Independent newspaper. Three robbers commit a horrible deed, is what the newspaper said. Mm-hmm. This small weekly newspaper devoted a whole page to this, and then they said, on the floor of Delta's Farmers and Merchants Bank, an unarmed bank cashier lay dead. 2 more men, both bandits, were dead in the dirt streets of Delta, Colorado.
Oh, my.
And a posse was in hot pursuit of the one surviving outlaw.
Uh-oh.
So that's what the newspaper said. So we'll go back to the beginning here.
All right.
In the autumn of 1893, Delta, Colorado was a quiet little town like hundreds of other little communities across the West. It was a growing town in 1893, a settlement with a future. Delta already boasted 2 saloons, essential, of course, to any town, 3 hardware stores, 3 lawyers, a couple of dozen other commercial enterprises, and 2 banks. Well, the 7th of September was a miserable hot day, the sort of day on which people moved slowly and stayed in the shade if they had no promising business. Like the surprising heat on that autumn day, another unwelcome guest was about to pay a visit to the town of Delta, veteran outlaw Tom McCarty. Have you ever heard of him, Zeb?
You know, I have, but I really can't remember all the circumstances.
Okay, I'll tell you who he's connected with here in a minute.
Okay, all right.
So Tom McCarty had his eye on the citizens' hard-earned savings at the Farmers and Merchants Bank, and with him were his brother Bill and Bill's 17-year-old son, Fred. Mm-hmm. And keep that in mind, 17 years old.
Right.
So the 3 had been watching this little town and its bank for several days, and they were ready at last to make a move. Now, Tom McCarty was a professional hoodlum, bad guy. His father brought his large family west to Montana and Utah, where they settled for a while, close to Circleville, home of Leroy Parker, better known as Butch Cassidy.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So, anyway, the family moved on to Nevada, then back to Utah in 1877. The McCarty brothers became ranchers on their own, but they weren't very good at it, at least not for the long haul. So, or maybe they just were not that interested in manual labor. Mm-hmm. But in time, whatever the reason, taking other people's money began to seem to be a pretty good deal, more attractive than working, for a while, at least. Well, Tom rode with Butch Cassidy.
I'll be darned.
And Matt Warner, among others, and had spent part of the famous 1893 robbery of the San Miguel Bank in Telluride, Colorado.
Really?
With Butch Cassidy.
So he was in the hole-in-the-wall game.
Yes. And that raid netted more than $20,000 and was supposed to be Cassidy's first venture into bank robbery. So Tom McCarty was also the central figure in the robbery of the First National Bank of Denver in the spring of 1889.
I see.
With Butch Cassidy.
I see.
That may be where you've heard that name.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, when McCarty and Warner robbed a gambling hall in Butte, Montana, they went to the shelter of a ranch in Baker, Oregon, owned by McCarty's brother Bill.
Way over in Baker?
Clear over to Baker. Well, things were tough in the ranching business for Bill and his son Fred, and so they both joined Tom to follow the apparently easy money of robbing banks. Mm-hmm. Well, it would prove to be kind of a poor decision in the long run, and we'll get to that shortly.
Okay.
Well, for a while, though, the outlaws' business went fairly smoothly. The 4 men robbed a placer camp called Sparta, Oregon, coming away with a haul of currency and gold nuggets. They rode into Moscow, Idaho, to rob, of all things, a circus.
You know, the distances you're talking about, those are really extreme, especially considering they didn't have interstates to go on.
Right. I mean, that's quite a distance from Montana to Oregon, back up to Moscow.
Wow.
So, like I say, they robbed a circus, and then they returned back to Oregon to rob a bank. More holdups followed, including a bank in Roslyn, Washington. So they spread themselves out pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, the Roslyn job went bad. One of the gang shot a man in the stomach, and the robbers had to run for it with a posse hot on their heels. Warner was eventually captured and spent some time in jail, and when he was released, he was smart enough to quit. Now, McCarty wasn't that bright.
I see.
And we'll get to more of that later here.
I can tell you what, now's a good time for a commercial.
It is.
Let's do that. We're very blessed to have Zach and Joanne at Minnecasia Sales sponsoring Dr. History. You know these people really well.
They built a 40 by 60 shop for me, and all the materials supplied by them.
Oh, my goodness, they've got it all. Windows, doors, garage doors, lumber, truss packages, carpet, everything, don't they?
They do.
And also, here's something, if you've got any cattle or whatever, they've got the very best of Tartar farm and ranch equipment, all the panels, the cattle handling equipment. I mean, hey, Tartar, that's the top of the game right there. You're aware of that, aren't you, Dr. History? I'm talking to you. Please put your book down.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I'm doing a commercial without much help. Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East East Main and Burley. They do have everything you're looking for. They are the pros. Zach and Joanne, right across from the Burley Airport at 1321 East Main and Burley. Number to call, 878-2091. Right, Dr. History?
Yes.
Thank you very much for all your input. Minute Cash's sales, you stop in and see them today. Go ahead, Dr. History.
All right. And don't let me forget to show you some pictures of these guys that I've got here in this book.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so the McCarty brothers and young Fred, again, 17 years old.
Yeah.
They were determined to hit the Farmers and Merchants Bank, one of Delta's two banks. So the three outlaws apparently arrived at Delta about the first of the month and spent some time casing the town. They seem to have spent considerable time in a saloon right across from the bank. They camped outside town prior to the raid. They brought with them a string of horses and took their time sizing up the bank and the town. Now, this kind of goes along with the Butch Cassidy stuff where you have horses stretched out, along the way to get away from the posse. So anyway, the three hoodlums asking what were later called innocent-sounding questions over a friendly drink in the town's watering holes. In the afternoons, they rode out of town, letting it be known that they were shopping for a ranch. One source says that young Fred was used as a scout for the gang. Okay, 7th of September, they were ready. Tom probably performed his usual role. He liked to be outside watching the street and holding the horses for the other two robbers. Now, I don't know if that was what he liked or he thought was the safest.
I see.
Well, a local citizen watched Tom doing at least a little one slug of liquor to get his courage up just before the raid began. Well, Tom entered the alley behind the bank with all three men's horses. So at about 10:15 a.m., Bill and his son, Fred, walked into the bank. It probably did not occur to any of the outlaws that this day was the anniversary of the James Younger Gang's disaster when they got shot up.
Oh, that was a bad deal. They looked like Swiss cheese.
They did. Well, inside the bank were two men, a guy named Blakely, who was a cashier, and an assistant cashier. Now, at the back of the bank, there was an office with an attorney by the name of Robinson, and across the street...
Wait a minute, there was an attorney working in the bank? That is robbery.
That is a kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? Now, across the street was a hardware store, and there sat a guy by the name of Ray Simpson.
Okay.
Now, keep that guy in mind, because he's going to come into play here.
Okay.
Simpson was a Kentucky-born and raised guy. He'd moved out west, settled in Delta. Simpson was a solid citizen, a respected merchant. He was about to become the town's hero.
Oh, my.
Now, to this day, there's no certainty about everything that happened inside the bank. Blakely was typing. The bank safe stood open, wide open. Two men walked into the bank, and Blakely rose to wait on them. He found himself looking into the business end of two guns. The bandits demanded the bank's assets right now, and one of the robbers, probably young Fred, jumped up on the bank's counter. Now, Blakely, the cashier, with more courage than wisdom, seems to have shouted for help, and one of the outlaws told him to shut up or get his head blown off. Well, the cashier continued to shout, and this time he got 2 bullets.
You would think the warning would have heeded some action in the being quiet department.
Yeah, but like I say, wisdom did not take hold here. But
some of these people in the Old West were not the real smart people of the class.
They weren't.
Yeah.
So Blakely's defiance had cost him his life.
Yeah.
Now, Tom McCarty's autobiography simply says that the 2 men entered the bank and a third waited outside with horses without naming who did what.
I see.
He also says that the cashier reached for a pistol and was shot.
Oh.
Now, this version sounds pretty much like an attempt to justify cold-blooded murder.
I see.
Now, the inside men, probably again Bill and Fred McCarty, grabbed a bag of gold coins, snatched between $700 and $1,000 in bills, stuffed them inside their shirts, and ran out through the back of the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whatever had happened inside the bank, the robbers dashed into the alley, hurting the other cashier along with them.
Oh, why did they take him?
Well, kind of as a escort, what do you call it, as a hostage.
I see. Okay.
So, now, basically, Tom said, get on your horses quick, and it was good advice for the citizens who were already moving toward the front of the bank.
This doesn't bode well.
No. Now, one of the account of the raid says the two inside men arrived in the alley to find their horses waiting, but Tom, being the brave guy he was, he jumped on his horse and was long gone.
He left.
He left.
So one guy that was supposed to hold the horses wasn't.
Was gone.
Adios.
At least the horses were still there.
I wonder if they paid him his share.
Well, you'll see.
Okay.
Well, leaving behind their loot, the outlaws mounted as fast as they could, fled, leaving loose currency strewn up and down the alley. Now, while Blakely's shouts inside the bank had probably not been heard, the shots that killed him had been heard.
Uh-huh.
Now, this guy, Ray Simpson, that I mentioned, that was the hardware owner, he heard the shots. Now, according to one version of the Delta raid, Simpson was cleaning his rifle. Most accounts call it a 44 Sharps in the back room of the hardware store right across Main Street from the bank.
I see.
Or maybe, according to another person, he just grabbed a repeating rifle from the store itself. We don't know, but it doesn't matter. Simpson himself told a little bit of a fascinating story about being prepared to take on the robbers.
Mm-hmm.
He said later that he dreamed a local bad man had vandalized his shop and he, Simpson, had to shoot the intruder.
I see.
Now, the dream so stuck in his mind, the next morning he cleaned his rifle and set it with cartridges where he could get it quickly.
So he had the dream the night before?
Yeah. In fact, he was telling his father of this strange dream when the two shots rang out in the bank across the street.
This is Hollywood.
It is. Now, the angry citizens were gathering in front of the bank, and Simpson noticed that there were no horses.
Uh-oh.
So he guessed correctly that the gang had stashed their mounts in the alley behind the bank.
I see.
He ran out in the street, hearing somebody yell, "Get your gun, it's a holdup." Well, Simpson turned toward the alley as the three outlaws galloped past him. Simpson raised his rifle, pulled down on the nearest one. He hit Bill.
Uh-oh.
Bill was done.
He was done. With a what? You said a Sharps?
Well, we think Sharps, or we don't know for sure.
Sharps would blow a hole in you the size of a carport.
Yeah, 44 caliber.
Holy smokes!
So one bullet pretty well took out Bill.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Simpson took aim at Fred, shot him.
Uh-oh.
Again, this guy was a good shot.
Well, evidently, he's depleting the population.
Right, and they claim that this last shot was about 240 feet. That's almost a football field.
That's as long as my roping arena.
That is.
And he nailed him?
Nailed him. So Simpson did say afterward that Fred fired 3 times at him and paused long enough to glance at his dad, who was laying in the dirt. Well, whether Fred did, it was the last. If he did, whatever he did, it was the last thing he did because Ray Simpson got him.
Got him too?
Well, yeah. So Bill and Fred are now father and son.
They're dead.
They're no more.
Yeah, adios.
So Simpson had done some fairly good shooting, and Fred actually stayed in the saddle for about a block, with his horse galloping down the street.
But he was.
Then he came off the horse.
Yeah, he was committed to hitting the dust.
He was.
Yeah.
Well, along the way, Simpson or somebody shot one of the outlaws' horses. Tom, the veteran outlaw, wanted nothing more to do with Simpson's deadly rifle, even if he did leave 2 of his kinsmen dead in the street behind him.
Yeah, so he's still running.
He's still going.
Yeah.
So Tom told him himself, let it be known later, that 2 or 3 bullets Simpson sent in his direction came uncomfortably close. So he realized that he and his gang had been well and truly whipped by one guy, the local town hero.
Really?
Well, as I mentioned about the horses, he changed horses in the gang's camp outside town. He lit out.
Now, what's this guy's name, Fred?
No, Tom.
This is Tom. This is Tom McCarty.
Yeah, Bill and Fred are both dead.
Yep, they're up in the...
great beyond.
Yep, they have.
So, anyway, so he jumped on one of the spare horses, and it turned out and he took off. Now, a manuscript supposedly being McCarty's autobiography was sent to his father-in-law and was supposedly published in a newspaper in Manti, Utah.
Oh, my.
And now in possession of the Utah State Historical Society.
Really?
So, it's... and I'm just going to read a little bit of what this supposedly is from his autobiography, his own words.
He wrote this about him being a bank robber.
Right.
Holy smokes. Doesn't sound smart.
It doesn't. But this came out later. Okay, now I'm going to just read what he said.
Okay.
He said, as we passed the first street, I heard the sharp crack of a rifle, and looking for my partners, I saw one of them, Bill, fall from his horse. My other companion, Fred, being a little ahead, then partly turned his horse as though he wanted to see where the shot came from. I told him quickly to go on, but as I spoke, another shot came which struck his horse, and before he could get his animal in motion, another shot came which struck him, and he fell dead. His horse began to run back toward the place where the shots had come from. Looking back, I saw a man standing by the corner of a building having what I suppose was a Winchester and shooting as fast as possible at me. Several bullets passed so near me that I felt the force of the bullets as they passed. One of the bullets struck my horse near the heel, which crippled him. After I had traveled about 75 miles, I found some friends who told me that both of my relatives had been shot.
Wow.
So that's his autobiography.
So what happened to this guy?
Okay, well, I've got a little bit more here.
Film at 11.
Okay. Well, the Delta Sheriff raised a posse, which included Simpson, and they gave chase, but they couldn't come up with McCarty. They did get his horse, but as I mentioned, he'd changed horses, so he had a head start. But they had come close enough to the outlaw to find a campfire still burning, but they never saw the man himself. Now, the remains of the McCartys were hauled off to an undertaking party. They were propped up, and I'm going to show you a picture of them here.
Okay, yeah.
Well, after the Delta disaster, Tom McCarty dropped out of sight. One tale of the raid was of him hiding in Moab, Utah, sheltered by his brother-in-law.
He's still there. He runs the Dairy Queen.
He does. You've seen him. And he stayed there until a mysterious stranger came to town asking questions. McCarty then moved north to Green River, where he was supplied with food by his son Lou, a local saloon keeper. This inquisitive stranger showed up again in Green River.
Oh, my.
And McCarty moved on again. Now, some think this may have been a Pinkerton.
Okay. One of the big guys back then.
So, anyway, some sources report that McCarty, shaken up, headed back to his hideout somewhere. In the fall of 1896, Tom McCarty sent word to Simpson that he was going to kill him. Now, Simpson's answer was classic. He sent a message back to McCarty. He had a small card punched with 10 bullet holes put there by Simpson at 225 feet.
This guy was good.
He was good. So I think that was the message back to McCarty, is that I'm a good shot. You want to come after me? You just come right on ahead. So, anyway, still another account tells us Simpson received threatening letters for years after this raid from McCarty. So, anyway, a lot of uncertainty surrounds Tom McCarty's later years. It's claimed that he was shot to death in about 1900 up in Montana's Bitterroot country after he picked a fight with the wrong man, or he was killed near Green River, Utah, or he died in Skagway, Alaska during the gold rush, or he died in California.
There's a lot of variants.
There's a lot of what-ifs, but one account, the most reliable one, has him living peacefully in Wallowa County, Oregon.
Really?
After the turn of the century, even becoming a justice of the peace.
You know, a lot of these bad guys did that.
Well, nobody knew what he'd done. You know, so you just move into a town, run for justice of the peace.
He changed his name.
Probably.
Put a star on his chest.
So,
and turned into Gomer Pyle, or not Gomer Pyle, but Barney Fife.
Barney Fife. Now, one source says that McCarty went to Rosebud, Montana, where he is said to have worked herding sheep.
You don't want to do that.
No, McCarty probably dictated his autobiography at Robber's Roost about 1898 and was killed shortly thereafter.
Wow.
So, however Tom McCarty ended his days, he must have been forever haunted by that hot day in Colorado, the day he ran from a single citizen, leaving his brother and nephew in the dust behind him.
Mr. Simpson.
Yeah.
Man, he was tough.
He was a tough guy.
Man, alive. And all of this, of course, brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley. Dr. History, and the very best of windows, doors, garage doors, truss packages, carpet, vinyl siding, metal siding, charter farm and ranch equipment. They've got it all at Minnecasia Sales. You stop in and see them today. Okay, you're showing me pictures.
Here's Ray Simpson.
That's Ray Simpson. He looks just like kind of a choir boy.
He does.
Yeah.
And here's a picture of the Farmers Merchant Bank.
There's a picture of the Farmers Merchant Bank.
And as typical in those days, they took pictures of the dead guys.
Boy, he got kind of really a whole bunch of holes in him, didn't he?
That's why they put the hat back where it was.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That's Bill McCarty.
That's Bill McCarty.
And here's his son, Fred.
That's Fred. Fred's got a smile on his face.
Yeah, I don't know if they put that on there later.
And they're wearing bib overalls.
Well, Hollywood puts these guys in pretty fancy outfits.
Yeah, but I mean, bib overalls. I mean, good heavens, you didn't expect that from somebody from the glorious Old West.
No, hooked up with Butch Cassidy.
No, it just wrecked the image.
It did.
You did it again. Great job. Thanks,
you.
Doc. You and your, don't you dare come in here next week wearing bib overalls. Okay.
I just might.
Dr. History, right here, brought to you by Minicash Sales. I got to pay some other bills here real quick. Stand by, Dr. History. I'll talk to you in just a minute. Don't forget, friends, on Thursdays we have a segment called Cassia County School Days. And, of course, we really want to say thank you to A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Everything for the babies. Everything for clothing needs, including all the scrubs, the Cherokee and Dickey scrubs. All this and more, family games, etc. at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And also our thanks go to Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. And Dr. Michael Coughlin is there right now, a very well-established foot surgeon from the Northwest, is seeing patients at the Ambulatory Surgery Center. So give them a call, 677-8888. Thank you very much for sponsoring, of course, on Thursdays, Cassia County School Days. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes. Don't you go away.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Best.
Good morning and welcome back. Always a very interesting conversation with Dr. Ken Turner, and I appreciate it, known as Dr. History. Very, very well done. I got to tell everybody before I get my guest on the air real quick about Valentine's Day, and don't forget to stop into the bookstore at 515 5th Street in Rupert. Oh, the caramel-filled chocolate hearts. Oh, the big ones and the little ones, and they've got all the fudge and the different flavors. Oh, my goodness. Along with the Valentine's Day cards and all the books and all the other office supplies. Everything you need at the bookstore, 515 5th Street in Rupert, wishing you and yours a very happy Valentine's Day. And don't forget Dreams Day Spa and Salon at 123 East 23rd Drive in Burley. It's a full-service salon and spa, and I'm telling you, husbands, this would be an ideal situation for you to stop in there and get a gift certificate for your lovey. Oh, my goodness, massages and facials and permanents and all the pedicures, manicures, everything right there at Dreams Day Spa and Salon, 123 East 23rd Drive in Burley. You stop in and they wish you and yours a very happy Valentine's Day. Right now, let's go to the phone lines, and a gentleman that has done an outstanding job as a representative for the state of Idaho up at the legislative session, and we say good morning to Representative Clark Kaufman of District 25. Sir, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well. And yourself?
Really, really good. Clark, I want to thank you for coming on the program this morning. We've got a lot of things to discuss. Give us a little synopsis as to what boards you're on and what committees you serve on and how the legislative session is going so far.
Sure. My everyday morning committee is Revenue and Taxation. And then every other day I have either transportation or business. Those three committees are all very interesting, a lot of things happening. And like this morning, I was before the Health and Welfare Committee, which I don't usually go there, but I presented a bill to get printed, cottage food bill to help people at farmers markets have definite guidelines and rules to follow. And then I had a bill on the Rev and Tax Committee, House Bill 74, I believe it is, that in 2008 they had a correction to the Urban Renewal District's school levy situation where the schools would pass a levy and it would go to, part of it would still go to urban renewal. Mm-hmm. They corrected that, except they left out the emergency levies, and this bill today corrects that. So just following those things, have a pure seed bill to Ag Committee this afternoon, so we're keeping busy.
Well, I can tell you are, but right now, Clark, what is the most not only pressing but very important issue that you and your committees are going to have to address during this legislative session? What's the most important?
I think for me the most important right now is the transportation funding and the Transportation Committee. Sometimes that affects rev and tax also, because if you decrease one place, you increase another. You have to keep those things in mind. But since 1996, the fuel tax has been flat, and the dollar we have today off of that fuel tax is has lost about 15 to 20 cents of its purchasing value. So our transportation infrastructure is about $260 million annually short on just maintaining what we have. So that's an important thing I think we're ready to address this year in the Transportation Committee.
When you say $260 million, and I'll just throw this at you to discuss, I was really, really happy to see the lower gas prices. Unfortunately, I think this Obama administration is going to do everything they can to make the prices go up, and quite frankly, I don't think $5 a gallon is out of the realm of possibility for this man before he leaves office, or even more. Well, the more that gas goes up, the less people drive and the less income is derived because more people aren't buying the gallons, etc. How are we going to combat that and get the money necessary to make the improvements in the infrastructure here in the state of Idaho?
That's a good question, and one we struggle with all the time, because we have competing policies. Vehicles with better gas mileage, higher fuel prices, people don't buy as much. The model that we're using right now with the fuel tax is probably unsustainable for maintaining the system. So I'll just throw this out for discussion. There has been some discussion up here about a dedicated 1 cent sales tax going to transportation funding. And of course that would we wouldn't put that extra penny on groceries, but the idea is that sales tax is a thin, widely spread tax. Idaho last year had $2.7 billion in tourists. People spent that much money, the tourists coming to Idaho, and so we would like to invite them to help fund our roads too. For discussion, what do you think?
Well, let me ask you this. Let's talk a little bit about the pros and the cons. First of all, let's go to the pros on what the 1 cent sales tax, the additional penny, what would it do? What would it possibly create?
Dollars-wise?
Yes.
It would be about $230 million. And then it would be indexed for growth, too, as the economy improves and people buy more things, it would be indexed, which our fuel tax isn't now. So that would be a plus, I would think.
So let's break this down a little bit and tell me if I'm wrong on my math. In the fuel tax currently would derive possibly about, let's just say $230 million, and this 1 cent sales tax additionally would raise another $220 million. So we're looking at about $500 million that could be for the betterment of the infrastructure of the state of Idaho, correct?
Yes. Well, let's back up just a little bit. If we did a sales tax increase, that would address the shortfall. So if you left the fuel tax where it is, maybe adjust registrations a little bit for certain vehicles. But it would address the problem in a more, I think, efficient and quick manner.
Yes. Why are people, Clark, right away they'll throw their hands up in the air and they'll say we're going to run over a cliff? Why are they so opposed in some respects to a 1 cent increase that would be designated for the infrastructure and the roads and the bridges? Why would they be against that? Give us the con side of the argument.
It's a raise of taxes. That's the biggest con. that's the only thing I've heard, and most people, when I've mentioned this to them, they say, well, that would never work, but I would vote for it. Mm-hmm. And so I think they're just afraid of being labeled somebody that raises taxes. But do you want to be a person labeled deficit spender?
Yeah.
Not taking care of the asset that we've been given. So that's the other side of that coin.
I'm looking at this thing, and you and I talked the other day. I want to be very open and honest about it. And we talked about this, and quite frankly, I lean towards a yes on this 1 cent sales tax increase due to the fact that, A, we need the improvements on the infrastructure, and B, the longer we wait, costs are going to go up, and the damage is going to be that much greater. We've got to basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, we'd better do something as soon as possible, right?
Well, that's my thought. The longer you kick this can down the road, the worse the situation gets. It's been shown time and again that if you spend $1 to maintain a good road now, it'll cost you between $6 and $14 to replace or repair it after it fails. So it's just good business sense to take care of the asset. And we all know that any asset that you don't maintain actually becomes a liability at some point.
Now, what about the generalization of this idea to the public? I mean, we're talking about it right now, but what about getting this thing out in front of the public? What about the media picking up on it? What about newspapers in general? I mean, how are we going to get this thing structured so that people can understand we'd better do something or we're going to pay for it more later?
Well, we've been trying to work on the education side of it for 2 or 3 years now with the Associated General Contractors and a coalition of a wide variety of people called the Transportation Coalition, trying to educate the public. I guess the public would have to let me know how good a job we did with that. Mm-hmm. But once a bill is printed, if there's one put together and it's printed, that's when it would be open for discussion and open to be viewed by everybody and get all the input.
Mm-hmm. What about, I guess a question that comes to mind is, what about Governor Butch Otter? What's his standing on this?
I have not talked to the governor myself. I probably better not speak to that at this point, but I think if it's fair and it's widely supported, I know the governor realizes the need, so hopefully he would not oppose it.
Well, I think that, again, going back to our conversation of the other day, you and I both had said that it sounds like it would be a more fair and equitable tax for the people in the state of Idaho than just relying on a fuel tax, and then we talked about the electric cars, etc. Break that down and tell me how the fairness applies and how it would be more equitable for the state.
Well, as you have more income, you spend more. Here's another point. Probably the biggest purchase that people make other than their house would be their car.
Right.
That would be a direct nexus to transportation funding. So the sales tax on a vehicle, for example, with that extra penny would go directly to the roads that you drive on. Mm-hmm. The sales tax is spread wide. It catches everybody that comes into the state and buys something. It may adversely impact some border towns that border states with no sales tax. We've discussed that too. That's always a problem. But I think the sales tax is the thinnest, lightest, most fair tax, especially if you don't increase it on groceries.
Right.
That there is. So.
Would you send me, if you could, when a copy of the bill is ready to go, if you could send me the nuts and bolts of the bill, and we'll do some special segments on this program discussing it, and we'll try to help any way we can in regards to answering questions and getting questions from the general public. Would you be able to do that for me?
Yeah, as soon as the bill is introduced, I can get it to you.
Okay.
I'm not sure when that will be. It may be this week or next, but I'll sure be glad to do that.
All right. Well, Clark, I'm just about out of time. Any other highlights or any other things that you want to mention for your constituents down here in southern Idaho?
Well, we got the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation license plate passed through committee and through the House. I carried it in committee and House. Headed to the Senate now. If you're a member of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and want to buy one of those plates, if we get it to the Senate, you'll have that opportunity.
Okay. And
that's just a side note.
Is the session going as smoothly as other sessions that you've been a part of, or are there some, for lack of better terminology, some real potholes in the road that you've got to address this year?
Well, it seems to me that everybody's more headed in the same direction on big issues. Lots of discussion, lots of varying opinions, but it seems it's faster paced this year. But it's I think it's more more friendly.
Okay. Well, I want to compliment you on the fine job that you do, and you've been very diligent in helping your people in your district and helping the people in the state of Idaho. Representative Clark Kaufman from District 25, thank you very, very much for being on the program, and I'll look forward to getting that information. And please know that I'll be calling you back and having you back on the program. Thanks, Clark.
Thanks, Ed. Thank you, everybody, and don't hesitate to give me a call if you have a question or an issue or need information.
All right, sir. God bless. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
He's really a great representative, and I know I've called up there on occasion and talked to him about various subjects, and he's always got right back with the information. Representative Clark Kaufman at our legislative session. What do you think about raising the sales tax 1 penny, with that earmarked and designated to go right into the infrastructure, our roads, etc., here in the state of Idaho? Give me your thoughts. Call me. While I'm waiting for your calls, don't forget right now we better get a weather forecast in here. And the weather is brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Absolutely locally owned custom meat processor in Jerome, serving all of southern Idaho. Caller, wait till I'm done with the weather. I'll be right there. They offer the very best of beef, pork, lamb, and the processing of wild game, absolutely guaranteeing everything they sell. And they sell taste, one bite at a time. Here now is Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everybody. Michael Rogers is over the rant. Pretty nice day. You're going to start to work your way to having nicer days as you work your way toward the weekend. And your temperatures are going to be pretty much right in the upper 50s for the daytime highs and the mid to upper 30s for the overnight low. So you're going to slowly but surely taper off and get away from these clouds and really start to have a nice weekend. As you get there, enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. And, of course, Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657, the very best. And they sell taste, one bite at a time. Caller, I've got about a minute and a half. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I want to disagree with this tax hike. Simply because to start it out, we had 3 cents. They went strictly for schools. Did it ever go to school? No. They're lying. They will not tell you the truth, and they'll use it for something else.
Now, Helen, I know you're upset about that, but where are we going to get the money for the infrastructure? The roads, the bridges are falling apart. You've driven down Highway 30. Sometimes you'll lose a small Volkswagen. What about, where are you going to get the money? You give me a better idea.
I cannot think of a better idea. But if there was some way that we could ride on them and get it put in something else besides the government's hands to do, then I would agree with it.
Well, I know that...
As long as the government's got it, they will use it for whatever and just give us a snow job.
Well, I'm not going to argue with your opinion, but I think on a state basis we're far, far better served than we are on a federal basis. I'll say that, and I'll let you respond. Okay. God bless you, Helen.
I think it's tit for tat.
Okay. Okay, thank you. You don't want to mess with Helen, I'll tell you that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We got to get the money from someplace. Have to have it. Right now, I also want to remind you this morning about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, our major sponsor right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Founders Celebration, and this, of course, in honor of Mr. Les Schwab, the founder of Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all the Les Schwab Tire Centers. What a great man he was. And they've got specials on certain tires, and like on all-season tread tires, economically priced. Some are starting as low as $39.99. I'm not kidding. And you can save like $20 off wheel alignment when you buy 4 new tires. All of this and much, much more with all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Need a new battery? They've got the best in batteries at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family over in Paul. Big chili contest going on over there this Saturday. Don't miss that. John on Poleline in Twin Falls and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got 30 seconds. Real fast. Go.
Zeb, if Obama can lie, why can't the rest of them lie?
Well, I don't know where your concept, everybody's a liar. I'm not going to say everybody's a liar. I'm not going to insinuate everybody's a liar. I look for the best and I'll go after the worst in people. Let's not call everybody a liar because we don't know that to be a fact. We've already seen it from the federal government in many, many instances. Thank you, caller. Tomorrow on the program, we're going to have Doug Johnson. We're also going to have Senator Lee Hyder, and we're going to be talking about water issues and also Medicaid and Medicare. We're going to be talking about the gas tax on a federal level with Christine Harbin Hansen with Americans Taxpayers. And then we're going to have, I can't remember the doctor's name. I believe it's Pamela Morris, Dr. Morris, that was on the other day. We're trying to get her back for a repeat command performance as far as February being National Heart Month, and we wanted her to come back on. We're going to have to call her office this afternoon and verify that. Until tomorrow at 8:06, Zeb at the Ranch. God bless you and your family, the way things were, the way things ought to be. Have a great day. Thanks, Gina. We'll see you tomorrow morning.